Thanks everybody for watching. My name is Ross, and I have the privilege of hosting conversations like this. And today I get to sit down with Elisabeth Lectka. Elisabeth, welcome.
Hey, Ross.
Now, we are going to talk about a new initiative around discipleship that's coming from Good Shepherd Theology Cohorts. And in that, I imagine that the average person watching understands the word Good Shepherd, but would love a bit of an explainer on theology and cohorts and what this is. So in the broadest sense of the term, Elisabeth, as we jump right in, can you explain to folks what this is and why Good Shepherd's doing this?
Yeah. I think the concept of theology cohorts has been kind of in the rumor mill for a while at Good Shepherd. Sure. Like, hearing people talk like, oh, we need this. Oh, this would be really cool. And so we're just like trying to hit the ground running and do it because we feel like the time for discipleship and this kind of deeper discipleship is now. And so when we say theology cohort, what we're imagining is really kind of structured time to learn more about God. When we say theology, we're thinking like our thoughts about God. And so we're going to explore all kinds of kind of like theological things, concepts, soteriology, eschatology. We're going to learn all the big words, nice. But also like, how do I study the Bible? Hermeneutics. How do I take what I'm learning and apply it and interpret it and understand it in this day and age? Really, we're trying to create the tools to foster that skill within each person that participates. But then also the cohort concept is really the development of a community and a group of people that are deciding to like intentionally grow together. And so what we're creating here is an experience to both learn intellectually and also be formed from communal conversations and the application and reflections and all of the pieces that are going to be part of this program.
And I want to come back to that. I want to make really clear that if you are watching this and you don't necessarily have context for Good Shepherd, or you've already lost the link that got sent to you previously, if you go to our website, gshepchurch.org, you can find Theology Cohorts right on our main navigation. You can go to gshepchurch.org/cohorts. You can also get it there. And that's going to provide a lot of overview of the conversation that Elisabeth and I are going to be having here and anything you need to sign up. What I want to make sure that you and I focus on, though, is the benefit and the vehicle that this provides for folks' discipleship. So you were talking about how this cohort experience allows you to really like sit with people, but can you walk people through sort of like what a typical cohort week would look like so that folks understand like how we're going to be interacting with the material you're talking about?
Yeah. So primarily our teaching is going to come from guest speakers. So we have engaged with and invited kind of various connections that we have through all of the avenues in academia that we might have, nice. But also some within our congregation of like, hey, we have pastors and Bible teachers here that we want to empower to teach. And so each week that we gather is a 2-hour session that we're gathering in person. It'll have about an hour of lecture and then about a half an hour of discussion of some kind. And then we've built in a half an hour for who knows what, because the discussion might go over. There might be a million questions. We want to leave space for whatever the Spirit is bringing up. There may be times that we're like, we're going to do a formation practice all together. And we're going to spend a half an hour in a certain type of prayer or learning something from the early church fathers. Like we want to leave space for that as we continue along so that we're kind of adapting what we're doing to the needs of each cohort as they go along. But we're expecting, an hour of lecture, a half an hour of discussion, and a half an hour for whatever the Spirit leads for us. But then each week we'll also have reflection material for individuals to do at home. So whether that's like, hey, take this Bible passage and interpret it for your family or for your neighborhood. Or, hey, here's a spiritual practice to try at home. Here's this type of prayer style you might not have heard of before. Or write a 750-word essay about this content that you learned. Like we're going to kind of vary it so that it it kind of, the purpose is to like dip your toe into what happens at seminary,
Mhm.
and also make sure that we're not just leaving it in our head, but we're connecting head and heart and engaging our whole selves in the storyline of the church, that we are like living in today.
That's good. I want to talk a little bit in this moment about who these experiences are for, because you are part of the leadership team for our cohorts. You're joined by Pamela Palmer, who's a pastor here on staff, as well as Bethany Hammer, who is, anyone at Good Shepherd knows very well. But to describe Bethany in any way, for those of you who don't, will not do her justice. So I would just say find Bethany and ask about her, because
Bethany Hammer,
Bethany
wise
Hammer,
woman.
exactly right. And you guys are leading this new initiative. And one of the things that I'm most excited about for it is, out of all of the new things that we're doing, out of all of the things to be excited about at Good Shepherd, this is the thing that has the greatest discipleship opportunities and the greatest and most upfront, you know what you're signing up for, ways that you can dive deeper into a relationship with Jesus. One of the things that I'm very mindful of is, as you're describing reflection, hour-long lecture, folks like the woman I'm married to, the love of my life, are like, sign me up. Let's go. Like, I miss hour-long lectures because I haven't gotten a chance to have a planner in a long time, right? Like, there is that section of people. There's also people on the other side of the spectrum who go, ooh, school.
Yeah.
Can you help folks understand how you view the difference between what folks might be thinking of when they hear the word seminary and what the cohort experience is going to feel like as you guys are getting this off the ground?
Yeah. So I said, dip your toe into seminary.
Yep. Nice.
Like, the experience of seminary is you go to class and you're just drinking out of a fire hose. Like, you're just trying to get like any gulp of breath that you can, because there's so much content coming at you.
Sure.
And we're tempering that. Like, we're doing what we can. We're going to build on sessions from before, but for the most part, we have like guest speakers in each week. So we're trying to keep things very like week by week, have that personal application, have the time for reflection and debrief. But the reality is that like theology cohorts are for people who want to be challenged. So like, if you know that an hour lecture is a little intimidating, but the formation piece is, you're like gung-ho about that. Yep. Like, great. Perhaps like the lecture is an area of challenge that then can foster this growth in those other areas as well. Really, our hope for theology cohorts is that we're taking it one step further than what you're able to accomplish in a life group.
Sure.
Like, there will be storytelling, but it's like where did that theological belief come from? You know, what experience in your life led you to this place? Or how does this theological concept challenge what you believe about God? And where is there truth that you've learned before? And where is there maybe like false belief that needs to be set to the side? Like, that's really hard work. And so when we talk about, okay, this is going to be awesome for discipleship, yeah, absolutely it is. But also, like, this is part of what Jesus calls us to do in following him, is to continue to evaluate, how can I follow you even closer, even closer, even closer? And we want this space to be that space where we say, okay, there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn about how we're studying the Bible and maybe ways that we could be doing it better, or more like honest and faithful. There's so much to learn about church history that we just like can't talk about on a Sunday morning in our life group. Like,
right.
We're not going to go to the early church fathers on a Monday night in our small group. Like, that's just not gonna, that's not the space.
Yep.
And so this is where we really want to grow that appreciation for the heritage that we have, for the big things that there are to think about God. And then also to like think about what that means for us as we follow Jesus. So like, the honesty is, this is going to be a challenging space, but those are the kind of spaces that God calls us into, so that we are following Jesus ever more closely.
Well said. The thing that I hope people hear in that is this is the type of space to talk to my fellow D's get degrees kind of people.
There's no grade.
That's a good, that's
an
important qualification to get out there. One of the most important parts to me about what cohorts are offering is it is a chance for you to do that type of reflection. And it's carved out that space that too many of us feel like doesn't exist for our own spiritual development.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that when you like look at the course description or the edit, that's the thing when you look at the description of what you guys are offering that I hope people pick up on, that there is a intentional layout and thoughtfulness where even when you're talking about the Bible, and I'm someone who's listening to this who has been following Jesus for decades, you know better than I do, person that I'm talking to, that there's always something that you haven't looked at scripture in a certain way. There's always something to learn. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful that you guys are intentionally carving out a space in order to dive into that. And I'm hopeful that as folks are listening to you and I talk, or they've seen it on the website, or they've seen it on a Sunday morning, that they're going, man, I feel like I should do this, but I'm signing up for a lot. I don't know. And I would encourage all of those folks to, one, take the time to talk to Elisabeth, Bethany, Pamela, to ask the questions you have, but also pay attention to the ways in which all three of them and anyone else you talk to are going to gently knock down the excuses that you're putting in front of it. Because this is something that God might be doing in your life. And the sooner that you are being upfront about whatever hesitations you have, the easier it is for the leadership team for cohorts, but also the people around you in general to come alongside you with whatever those concerns are.
Yeah. And then that is part of what we thought about in designing cohorts is we know Good Shepherd people are busy. And we know that what we're designing here is going to appeal to people who are already leading in other ministries. They're already leading a small group. They have these big commitments, which is why we've designed the program over the course of a year to have 3 8-week sessions. So that mentally there's kind of that commitment of like, okay, I'm committing to this thing for 8 weeks. And then I'm going to take the foot off the gas. And then I'm commit to this thing for 8 weeks and then foot off the gas, so that you're able to have that rhythm of lean in, like dig in, and then take a breath and let it settle. And so they're able to do that multiple times throughout the year, so that at least the time commitment piece is a little bit more manageable. Mm-hmm.
And there's some of you who are watching us are hoping that Elisabeth and I were going to dive into a bunch of logistics about timing and cost and what the night's going to look like. All of that's available to you on the website. And to end with the invitation from me, I hope that folks take the time to look at what's offering and ask themselves the question, why wouldn't I do this? Because I think what you're going to find is you should probably get involved in cohorts. And I recognize that now might not be the right season of your life, but my biggest hope in how we've been trying to get the word out about this is that this becomes something that so many people start hearing about, that it activates that kind of like that FOMO instinct where people are like, man, I haven't done cohorts yet. I should really sign up for cohorts next fall. So I really appreciate you guys jumping in, you guys starting this process for us, because I could not be more excited to see what God does through cohorts here at Good Shepherd. And also as all of us live this out a long way outside the walls of 1310 Shepherd Drive.
Yeah, me too. It is my hope and prayer that this is something that becomes established for us at Good Shepherd, because it truly can be this like next step for us in how we're following Jesus with our whole lives.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Encounter Faith podcast. This podcast is a service of G. Shep Productions from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Naperville, Illinois. All rights reserved. If you're in the area, we'd love to meet you on a Sunday morning at our 9 a.m. or 10:45 services. At Good Shepherd, we are inviting everyone to walk together in the calling of Christ for a life of eternal impact. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Ross Cochran, and our theme song is Wake the Earth by 1111 Worship. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again soon.